Good afternoon, everyone. This is Peter Reese, and you're not. We're here this afternoon with a special edition of Wny Reach. We have two interesting guests today. Our prime first guest is Duncan Kirkwood, but the best-looking guest we have is Katrinna Martin-Bordeaux, and we've also got with us Abraham Nasser, who's a longtime sidekick here, who is finished with his exams and is officially now a half lawyer. He's 50% of the way through law school. I wanted to start by dedicating today's program to two former Erie County Legislative Chairmen, Dick Sliz and Al DeBenedetti, who both passed away recently in very close proximity, within about 3 days of each other. These gentlemen were old-time Democrats who really cared about the people, who produced for the people. Dick Sliz was generally known as the guy who saved ECMC, but he did many other things. Al DeBenedetti was a hard-fighting legislator from Black Rock, Riverside, and he was also a no-kill animal welfare advocate. The reason I'm dedicating the program for this is because both Duncan and Katrinna are former county legislature candidates. Unfortunately, they didn't make it to the dance, but they did something that 99.99% of people never do, which is try to win an elective office. So I'm going to start out with Duncan. If you could, I'd like you to give us a little personal background. We'll try to ply you for additional information. And then we'd like to find out what it is that you're actually engaged in full-time at this point.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate the invite. This is a really nice setup you got here. Very professional in studio. So my name is Duncan Kirkwood. I grew up on the east side of Buffalo. I went down south to go to college. I went to a historically black college in Montgomery, Alabama. Got my degree in public relations. Immediately after college, I enlisted in the Alabama Army National Guard, where I served my 8 years of my career as a chemical in a chemical unit, doing kind of hazmat and search and rescue, and kind of in-state, stateside support with FEMA organizations. During that time, I also worked in education policy, so I helped to write and pass the Alabama School Choice and Opportunities Act of 2015, which allowed for Alabama to become the 43rd state to allow for public charter schools. Then in 2015, I ended up coming back to Buffalo to get married to my high school sweetheart. So that was a really important time and decision for me to come back home. I had done a lot in Alabama. I had led 2 Christian missionary trips to Israel. I had done a lot of work in the military and around education. So when I came back to Buffalo, kind of felt like I was starting everything over. I also got my master's degree from Ashford University in public administration. And when I moved back to Buffalo, it was probably the first 5 or 6 months I was there. I don't know, it's all a blur now. But I went to a Bernie Sanders event at UB. My niece, or my little cousin, Naomi, was really wanted to go, and her mom didn't feel like going. So she asked if I would go because she know I'm all into politics. So I took her to this Bernie Sanders event at UB. And, we're sitting there, and then they introduced this lady named Katrinna Martin-Bordeaux. And I'm like, who is this lady? Because what I didn't know is that political rallies, they have it's like a concert. They got the warm-up acts, they got the hype man, that type of thing. And they said, this lady is the president of Young Black Democrats. She's the chair of the Black Lives Matter chapter. And I'm like, I got to meet this lady. I got to meet her. So I stalked her on Facebook till she finally gave me a time of day to have coffee with me. And then I started getting involved in kind of the Buffalo fight for justice locally, and education justice, and, criminal justice. And Katrinna really kind of, helped mentor me to teach me the ropes, show me what was going on back, since I was new coming back home. So I ended up working with the Black Lives Matter chapter for a little bit here, did some education policy since I've been back, went on to work at the Northland Training Center, running their outreach department. And then I went on to run for office. I ran for county legislator twice. Unfortunately, I did not win, but I learned a lot about the process, about myself, about what it takes to create change and kind of run against a system that's designed to oppress people in our communities. And so After that process, I took some time to do some soul searching. So the election was over in June, and I was like, well, what am I going to do next? I didn't want to just take a job, right? And I got a lot of, job offers and stuff. So, but what I did was I decided I was going to write a book. And, one of my jobs in the military was to train soldiers to become more resilient and mentally agile to combat veteran suicide and depression. Because in 2012, we had more soldiers die from suicide than die in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan. So they trained officers like me to go around the country to teach soldiers to be more resilient. So I took that training of the military rigid, resilience training, and I mixed it with some like super deep metaphysical, philosophical, personal development around purpose and being and presence to create a book that the average everyday parent, grandparent, somebody who goes to work every day could read to learn to become more resilient and have a more purpose-driven life with peace, love, and joy. So I published that book in March of this year, March of 2020. Didn't know when I wrote it that there was going to be a global pandemic where suicide rates were going to go up and depression was going to go up and people would have this anxiety and be isolated and have all these mental health challenges coming up, which meant my book was needed at this time more than any other time I've been alive. And so since that time, we've sold over 1,400 copies. About 3 weeks ago, I signed a book contract with a major publishing house that's going to publish my book in 6 languages across the world. And help really get that message out. So I've been doing a lot of speaking and training around resilience virtually, during the pandemic. And then I guess in my new job, I know that'll lead into the next question. My full-time job that I decided to take was to be the national membership manager with an organization called PLUS, Paid Leave for the United States. And our mission as an organization is to get Congress to pass a federal paid family and medical leave policy. Because right now, based on what state you live in and what job you work for, it varies on what the policies are, right? So if you live in California, you're guaranteed 8 weeks of paid family and medical leave. You live in Colorado, you're guaranteed 12 weeks. But if you live in, Georgia, you are guaranteed nothing. And it's based on what your employer will offer you. And so we want paid leave to be about families, not just looked at like a workers' right issue, like, oh, they want more sick time, but like as a issue of human dignity, right? You should never have to choose between raising a newborn baby or caring for a parent who's sick or earning a paycheck. Right. And people who are of means, people who have really high paying jobs that are doing really well, they have paid leave. They have comprehensive paid leave. And so but the person who like this last year is all about frontline workers. We love frontline workers. Right. Everybody, essential workers, they're awesome. I'm putting them in their commercials. But a lot of those frontline essential workers don't have paid time off. So if they were if they were near someone with COVID, if they were, contact with somebody with COVID and they had to quarantine for 2 weeks, a lot of those people won't get paid time off for those 2 weeks. Now, Congress did pass the FFCRA earlier this year, the Family First Coronavirus Recovery Act, which lets employers it's like very specific. It's like less than 300 employees or, it's some type of very specific thing, but it left out a lot of people. But anyway, for most employers, if somebody took off paid leave, they could be reimbursed through the FFCRA. But it's looking like those benefits are not going to be extended. So we've been doing a lot of work in Georgia because the Biden campaign, we did an event with them, and they committed that if they win, they would support a federal policy for 12 weeks of paid family leave. But in order for that to happen, we need the Democrats to win the Senate. So we've been using a lot of our resources in Georgia, partnering with local organizations, partnering with HBCUs to try to turn out the vote in Georgia because this January 5th runoff is going to dictate largely what the political world is going to look like. So I know that's like a long answer, but that's what I got going on.
Some specifics. We're all concerned about that race in Georgia. What can we do in Buffalo? Georgia's a long way away.
Oh, that's a great question. So I can send you a list of resources. So the best thing people can do is to support the organizations on the ground that are doing the work already, right? So like we can text, right? We can text from Buffalo, from here, like because to text voters in Georgia, they got like programs set up. We can do phone banking. And those, we can give money, we can give resources for the get out the vote effort. We can post in social media. Like, there's a lot we can do. And instead of us trying to create something, it's better to feed into what Stacey Abrams is doing and the work that she's already leading there, with the Georgia NAACP, the Atlanta NAACP, the CARES organization. There's like a lot of groups that are doing the work. United for Respect, Democracy Now!, right? And so we feed into like their supporting their text efforts, their phone bank efforts, their social media efforts. We can connect to people because we've got connections, right? So, you know, if you're a lawyer, you can connect with them and say, hey, I'm a lawyer, and you can maybe build a bridge into the lawyer community, right, in Georgia and Fulton County, right? Or if you're a nurse, you can tap into the Black Nurses Rock, you know, Atlanta chapter, right? And so we can use our networks to help in that, because that's the eyes of the political world are really on Georgia right now.
Is there one central place where someone could go and say, well, you know, I'm a 76-year-old white lawyer with white hair. What would I do? You know, and there's somebody else who's a steel worker or a housewife. How generally could we, you know, learn how we can hook into this?
Yeah, if you just type in volunteer Georgia election, it'll give you on Google, it'll just give you a list of resources. So whether it's the campaigns themselves, they have lots of opportunities for events they're doing for the 2 Senate candidates, or whether if you want to type in Georgia NAACP, they are plugged in. United for Respect, they're plugged in. So any of those, you can either Google, you know, volunteer Georgia, and all the resources come up, or you could start with Georgia NAACP or Democratic Party of Georgia. To get plugged in. And they've got like a full list of events, text events, phone bank events. Like it's like a movement of volunteerism happening.
Okay, now who are the good guys that we have to elect in Georgia?
Well, we want to elect both of the Senate candidates, both of the Democrats. I mean, when we talk about the Georgia election, it's not about, the Democrats versus the Republicans, right? In that sense, it's really every issue that we care about is on the ballot in Georgia, right? So if we want to see police reform, we want to have a conversation about D.C. becoming a state, we want to talk about marijuana legalization, we want to talk about paid leave, any of the progressive issues that we want to see moved forward, they are on the line on whether we win the 2 Senate seats in Georgia or not. So the good guys, yes, I'm supporting the 2 Democratic candidates, Warnock and Ossoff. But if I look at it more like, what issues of justice do you support? Because those are the issues on the ballot, and these 2 candidates are going to be, you know, holding those and lifting those issues up.
All right, now I want to bring Katrinna into this. Katrinna, it just seems to me that, you know, women want to have babies. That's just what they do. And, you know, why is that a concern to me? And, you know, isn't this family leave, isn't this kind of like socialism or something? Seems to me you've been involved with that sort of activity, and I haven't, you know. So
Right.
why would we want this family medical leave?
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up. In 2018, I have what we call my change of life baby, right? I'm almost 43 years old, and I delivered a bouncing baby boy. Well, lo and behold, I had worked in the state of California prior to having him, some in New York, but, you know, primarily in California. So automatically, even contract working in California, I still pay into California's disability system. So therefore, when I had my son, I was able to and eligible to file for that, you know, leave under California rather than New York State. And I was actually able to take the accumulated time that I could have took off before I had my son. I worked until 10 days before I delivered my son. But California says that I could have, you know, taken off 4 weeks before my delivery time. It says that for a, you know, regular birth with no complications, I could take off 8 weeks. For a cesarean section, I could take off 12 weeks. So lo and behold, I was able to be out of work home with my newborn for over 3 months before I went back to work.
Okay,
And that was significant in relation to bonding, of childcare issues, and just focusing on our family. And then my husband was also eligible to take off his leave time within the year. So he didn't have to necessarily take it as soon as I had my son. He had any time to be able to take that within the first year of his life. And that is very important to our families, because we do not want people to grow their family, right, and then suffer, hardships behind that. So I actually took home more money likely than many people make even, weekly while I was out of work with my son, just because of that good law and that good benefit that's in California that really should be a federal law, the same way that Duncan has described.
So do you think that this leave in healthcare in general should be tied to a person's employment? Do you think that makes a lot of sense to have a system like that, or not so much?
Okay, repeat that one more time.
Do you think that we should have like paid family leave and healthcare just in general tied to employment, or should the government step in and kind of close the gap?
Well, it could be both. It all depends on what type of employment. It all depends on, an employer. So we couldn't expect necessarily a smaller actually be on a federal level where everybody is, working together.
Right now,
It should be
Abraham,
a federal program.
don't you think that these women should just man up and get back to work after they have a child?
Absolutely, bootstraps.
Yeah.
They should be working while they're giving labor. And,
So, Can I jump in for a second? I know you guys are playing devil's advocate here, but there are some people who think like that.
Of course they are. That's the problem, isn't it?
Right. So there's this train of thought where it's like, hey, I'm a man. I go to work every day. Why should they get 3 months of paid vacation because they had a child, right? Some people actually think like that. And it's very problematic because, first of all, we say that our country is about supporting families, right? Our policies don't always reflect that, though. So that's the first thing, that we need to be supporting families. And the second thing is, this isn't like some handout, right? When we talk about a federal paid family leave program, people are going to pay in to their leave policy. Just like we have other benefits that employees pay into, and then maybe the government may supplement some of it, but their employees are paying into this. So when you take your leave, this is something you've earned. This is something that you have been a part of, paying towards. So it's not just that. And also, leave isn't just about like a mom having a newborn, right? So first of all, fathers need to be a part of their children's lives too. So parental leave isn't just for the mother, right? This is also for the father, because they need the time to be able to bond with a newborn as well. Those first 3 months are critical. That's number one. Number two, now that we have spent a year locked down in COVID with most of our families doing virtual learning, we have seen care rise to the top of the issues of priorities, because the FFCRA also allows for people to take off time, paid time, to help virtually school their children. So we're seeing families using the FFCRA benefits to take time to be there to help support their kids in virtual learning. And then being a part of the sandwich generation, right? We're having kids and we're taking care of our parents and grandparents, right? We need leave for that, because you may have a family member that's sick for 3 weeks, or you may have exposed them to COVID or whatever, and they need care and support. That's also part of paid family and medical leave. It's not just like moms having babies, but let's not diminish. Moms having babies is a huge part of our community, a part of our society, and it's important, and it's something we should be standing up to support and cheerlead people who take leave to take care of themselves and their families.
So you're telling me when a woman has another human being come out of their body that they should have 3 or 4 weeks to be off and bond and recover after that?
No, I am not saying that at all. I am saying when a woman has a child, she should have 3 months of paid family leave to recover, to bond with her child, to do whatever she needs to do to take care of herself and her family. And the father should have 3 months of paid time off to bond with the child and support the mother and support the child. And it shouldn't even be an issue. We should be cheerleading and celebrating as people take leave to take care of their families. So when they come back to work, they come back as a whole person, right? Not stressed out about a newborn, not stressed out about childcare, having had the time to heal their body physically and mentally.
What's it like in other countries? If
Can I offer that, Pete? Because I come from Canada.
A?
Hey,
Eh?
Get
no,
it out.
No, quite seriously, and I don't have a camera here. I'm also interested in getting more of Katrinna's take on this, because we men can talk about women all we want, but they experience it. In Canada, I believe it's a year you get, and you can split it. Many of my friends, the mom will stay home for the first 6 months, allowing that bonding time, that transition from totally dependent to being independent, being able to be fed rather than drawing from the mother for everything it needs. And then my male friends stay home the next 6 months and are the caregivers. And I'll tell you, the opposite of that was what I watched at Geico when I worked there. I watched a young mother who just had her first baby, and after 6 weeks she's back at work. She's a ball of stress, because everything of the separation anxiety hits her as much as I'm sure it hits the child. What do you think, Katrinna?
I think that is true. That's a very valid point. It's beyond, people having, children and like you just want to be on a vacation. There's bonding time. Many, many mothers breastfeed, and that is extremely difficult. If you knew, even as a nurse, with people that I work with, now that may actually still be breastfeeding, their children, even at work, there's limited places to actually be able to pump. And oftentimes, women end up drying up and they don't have milk for their babies because of that. So it is very important. Also, every child is different. We're all individuals, and until you can really bond with your child, get a chance to have your child know you, and for you to actually know your child, you don't even know your child's exact needs, right? So then we start walking into a healthcare issue, right, or a child care issue, because either you could potentially have a child that needs needs extra help with things. You have to find someone that you trust, that can actually take care of your child. You may think that, oh, okay, I can send them to my friend over here that has a daycare that keeps children, but yet and still your situation, your circumstances may actually be different. And women always have, and historically have made those sacrifices. We are the kind of the heart of society that we're going to keep mankind going. And I think that we should definitely be respected for it. So to even actually hear that Canada recognizes that this process can take up to, or needs to take, a year. And here we are over here in, the leader of the free world, and we're trying to figure out how to squeeze 12 weeks, which, may still not be enough in certain situations. So I would definitely like to see us move towards really supporting this, and really supporting, family leave, medical leaves, where there's actually compensation for it, just as a rule of thumb. Because like Duncan said, that this is a system that I benefited from, but yet and still I paid into it for years before I ever had to use it. Maybe I'll never have to use it again. Maybe I will, but I definitely paid into the system more than what, I took back out of those 12 weeks that I was off with my son. It just makes sense. We have to start taking care of our communities and taking care of our families better. Women of color are less likely to be able to stay home because we more likely have some type of income disparity, to where we have to get back to work. And even with COVID, we even see that now. Minority people are less likely to be are less likely to be able to convert their job to just work from home, more likely to be the essential workers that are, at risk. So with that being said, women of color, women in general, and just people trying to make it in their everyday life have an increased level of stress. And stress manifests depression. Depression manifests suicide. And suicide manifests a broken family and a broken society. So, there are things that we need to do more within this country to facilitate the health and the wellness within within our communities. And
So,
I think that this is definitely a needed step.
so my question would be, why do you think when it comes to these kind of issues like paid family leave, healthcare, just in general, we're so quick, the government is so quick to smack those kind of policies down, but when it comes to like bailouts for corporations and corporate America, it's like the first thing on the table. What do you think is the problem with our current government or current system?
Well, our current government is a male-dominated a male-dominated class that does not reflect what the country actually looks like. And that's what the problem is. We have some generational issues where that perception is still there about what all of our roles are.
Anybody
You
who
know,
thinks
um,
anybody who thinks that we live in a male-dominated country has never been to my house. That's all I have to say. Just wanted to get a laugh out of you, Katrinna.
they don't know the boss. So I try to tell everybody else is the boss. You want to ask him.
Can,
But so that is a lot of the issue is the value that our government actually puts on the people, because if you look at our United States senators, right? All of them are wealthy folks. All of them, basically are millionaires. Most of our members of Congress, after they've been there long enough, they're millionaires also, right? So they don't even relate. They're not even relating to working, class people. Or even if they, started out working class, a lot of people forget where they came from. And that's a lot of what the problem is we have a government system that is actually checked out with the needs of the American people, and they don't reflect the people.
Very true, very true.
Something I would like to take a look at a little bit. I'm an engineer policy wonk type, and I know people have done return on investment of things like child nutrition programs, infant nutrition programs, new mother nutrition programs. The rate of return on investment is something like 100 to 1. Every dollar that we spend saves us $100 in problems in healthcare and other things down the line. Now, it would seem to me that we ought to be able to do ROI on this sort of thing also. So, if I'm a heartless bean counter MBA guy, I'll still say, hey, this makes sense because it's going to cost me a lot more if I don't do it. Are we looking at the cost of not doing it now?
But if you give, so you said 100 to 1, if you give that $1 to that program, how is Raytheon and Lockheed Martin and all those other defense contractors, how are they going to get paid, if we actually do something for the people?
There's a good point, Abraham. Drones are important.
Yeah. Well, let me say this. We've seen in this last election that we can create change, right? When we really lean in as a country, as a community, as communities, Stacey Abrams has really risen to show. She's really shown us the power of organizing low income, marginalized communities, people of color, women especially, that we can create change where it doesn't look possible. And we talk about paid leave. Our organization worked in 3 states, North Carolina, Iowa, and Arizona, right? We lost in North Carolina, we lost in Iowa, but our Senator Mark Kelly in Arizona, newly elected senator, is going to Congress, and he's going as a paid leave champion. Right, we've got Senator Gillibrand, Senator Elizabeth Warren already champions, and we're hoping that the 2 senators that win in Atlanta will win and become champions, and they're both men, right? So we've got new men that are looking at paid leave, looking at care, and bringing that with them to D.C. But it matters; these elections matter, right?
Can you fill out the background on Stacey Abrams a little bit, just in case listeners do not know what this woman has accomplished, because she's a lion of this lady flipped Georgia blue.
Right, and so that Georgia hadn't been blue since Obama won it, and that was Obama. That was like a whole different wave, right? But Stacey Abrams ran for governor of Georgia, black woman. So this is a black woman, ran for governor of Georgia, and she very nearly won, but the Republicans, Secretary of State, found a way to disenfranchise tens of thousands of voters. right? And so because of their chicanery, the Republicans were able to hold on to the governorship in Georgia. But she didn't then quit and say, forget all of this, I'm done with politics, you guys all suck. She started organizing and mobilizing people of color all throughout Georgia. And she registered over, I think, 800,000 new voters in Georgia. And because of her hard work, they flipped Georgia in the presidential election. And that work, you could say we would have won, the Democrats would have won without Georgia. But now looking at the Senate race, if we win Georgia's Senate race, it will be, I'm not going to say 100% her, but it will be like 90%, her leadership and making it happen and doing the grassroots, person-to-person, organization, coalition building, hard work of bringing people together that she did that has brought us to this point where we are on the brink of possibly controlling the House, the executive branch, and possibly the Senate.
So, quick question. Do the Democrats, do they need both of the senators to
Yes.
win, or do they need one?
Both.
Okay, so it wouldn't be like a tie and then the vice president would break it if only one won.
No. So if we win both, then the votes will be tied. And then the vice president, which is Kamala Harris, who is also a paid leave champion, will be the deciding vote in the Senate because it would be 50-50.
Okay, so it is important to win both races. Just wanted to highlight that.
I also want to add in that if you look at my Facebook profile picture, I am advocating that Republicans in Georgia write in Donald Trump. I think it's important that they vote for him, obviously because their vote won't count. And we're getting people to throw their votes away, and nobody gets it. They think I'm a Trump supporter. I have a red hat that says "Make racists afraid again," and everybody thinks I'm a MAGA because people don't read. So if you see my profile, no, I'm not really supporting Donald Trump, except for senator in Georgia, which he's not eligible for.
Well, it's gonna come down to the wire. Listen, this is going to be a tight, because the whole political world is focused on Georgia right now. Not just all the progressive civil rights organizations, but also the conservative, Trump army is descending on Georgia as well. So this is like all the energy that we had leading up to the November election across the whole country is now all focused on these two Georgia Senate races.
So another thing that's very important, since we're on this topic of elections, I think it's important to highlight as well that we need to, when we go to vote or we go to, whether it's in a primary, general election, whatever, it's important to focus on electing a new generation of politicians. We have no disrespect to either one of them. I mean, Mitch McConnell was born in the 40s. So was Nancy Pelosi. I don't think.
So was I. Wait a minute.
Well, hold on.
What are you going to send me on carousel now?
No. Listen, I don't.
Abraham, I thought you were my friend.
People who were born in the 40s, I don't think should be making policy for the rest of us. I mean, things have changed since the 40s.
Look at that's just not true. Creepy old white men have a desire and a need to control young women's bodies. You look at our policies. It's just necessary.
Yeah, I'm a fan of term limits for all political offices, personally.
Not a bad idea.
Right.
I mean,
I'm a fan of getting the big money out of politics. I would get rid of corporate donations. Period.
That's really
we should have public financing of campaigns. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Jeremy Zellner won't like you for saying that.
No names, please.
Yeah,
no
sure
names.
He doesn't, and he wants to get rid of minor parties also, right? Because he has a difficult time taking on, that C line, the conservative line. Rather than for him to actually have some kind of, it's like, what are we working for? Like, what is the goal of the Erie County Democratic Committee? Is the goal paid family leave? Is it universal health care? What is it? What is the line in the sand between the Democratic support and a candidate that wants to run for office? What is it that they have to actually bring to the table?
The purpose of the Erie County Democratic Committee is power and money. As far as I know, in the last 40 years, they haven't taken a position on anything. And I think that's intentional because they don't want anybody to be tied down to anything. It's always amazed me. The parties from other counties will say, we're in favor of Medicare for all or whatever. You'll not see that come out of our committee.
Right. So I don't know as a Democratic committee, in of itself, I don't know, like, what's the fight? Like, what's the goal?
Yeah.
What are you
Progressives.
looking for in candidates?
Jobs and money. Clear.
So that's a great question, Katrinna. I don't want to. I'm not. I would like to see our all of our Democratic groups and parties. They should be looking at Georgia right now, right? Like, as Democrats, we shouldn't be talking about how we're going to make sure nobody runs in a primary and kick people off the ballot. We should, before the November election, Democrats should have been in Buffalo and Erie County. We know New York is going blue, right? Everybody knows that. So we should have, as Democrats, used all our time and resources and volunteer efforts to put people on buses and send them to Pennsylvania and Ohio and
Florida.
Michigan.
Correct.
Right?
Well, he wasn't going to do that. So what I've tried to do and what I've done is I've helped Georgia out by filling out a bunch of postcards, right? And basically saying that, hey, I'm a registered nurse, to try to appeal to, a middle class or to a working class,
And that makes a difference.
people. And I think it makes a difference. I think my postcards, I think they were genuine. I think I related to people. And I think if they actually picked up and read my postcard, I think they're going to vote with me.
That it's also postcards and mailings I like if they're for real and they're genuine and they catch your eye, because it kind of doesn't beat me in the head. I can put it down, look at it in my time. If you come knock on my door, that's not really bad, but I'd rather have the candidate knocking at my door. The phone call is kind of obtrusive. I think the ability to look at something online or whatever, we're all busy when I want to do it without you telling me when I have to do it. I actually like mailing. I really do, in any size campaign. And I tend to like door to door by the candidate, their wife, their mother, their kids, whatever, as opposed to me showing up and saying, "Hi, Mr. Johnson. I am here to talk to you about Katrinna Martin. How are you today?"
Even that now, do you want somebody with a mask coming onto your porch? And
Now with
to you?
COVID,
Now
I
with
don't.
that's what I'm saying. So even that makes it hard.
Don't open the door. Don't open the door. Anybody campaigning on your door right now, don't open the door. Right? They've knocked on the door. They've been to 50 other houses. Like, those aren't things that,
Super
you can do at this
spreaders.
point.
Super spreaders. I mean, we don't want to do that. And you're not going to get COVID from a postcard, okay? The virus isn't that strong.
Exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
I want to get back into one other thing with respect to the family leave, and it impacts more on women than anything else. Women's careers are just hammered by having children. It could be something you can't possibly overcome, enough as it is already. And yet we make them pay other burdens. Now, do we know do we have any family leave in New York State? What's the current standard? It can't be as good as California, because Katrinna, you took California.
Right. No, it's not. I didn't even really inquire as much into what the difference would be, but the difference was a large difference. I want to think maybe New York State gives about 25% of
50% for 8.
What is it? 50% of your last 3 quarters, or
50% for 8 weeks.
for the year?
30
weeks.
days. 30
Okay.
days prior, you got to notify them.
Oh, so it's 30 days prior. So I'm pretty sure what California did was took the highest quarters. Yeah, I think they took the highest. I think I got the average of maybe the highest quarters. So it was a big difference.
It's not like
huge difference.
it's not like in the '60s where a woman's boss would sit down and say, "Well, you're not going to make as much as the men because you're going to get married and have kids," or this, that, and the other thing, and they do it out in the open. At least we don't do it out in the open. But I think if you don't think that that's actually happening, it is happening. Women are being hurt career-wise if they want to have children.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Even on the aspect of promotions, women are less likely to even get promotions in the workplace, especially if you're of childbearing age. I see it all the time where a woman becomes pregnant, and the next thing you know, you're not working out, and they need to get somebody else into, your job or your position. So we do not live in a society that even like really supports women, especially like on a managerial or an administrative aspect that supports growing and working families and educated mothers that want to have children and want to build their family. We don't support that. It's almost like a dagger being a woman, having a child in some industries specifically.
We even
Can you imagine a pregnant construction worker?
Yeah, good luck.
we even refuse.
How is that working out?
We even refuse to call them by their titles. I mean, has anyone seen in the news, like, just because Dr. Jill Biden isn't a medical doctor, she's not
Wow.
actually a doctor now, because she's not a medical doctor. Like the dean at my law school was like, I don't get called Dean so and so. I just get called by my first name, and then the people who are under me, who are lower deans, they refer to them by Dean so and so, and they report to me, and they just call me by my first name or Miss so and so. So that's even a big problem. We even refuse.
And we
to
know
give
that the
people
meaning
credit.
of doctor, right? We know the meaning of doctor just simply means teacher, right? It just means that you've accomplished a level of education where there's really nowhere else to go. And if you've reached that PhD or doctoral level, then that's your title, and you have the right to carry it.
And
We have plenty of nurses that have their DNPs, right? And so they're Dr. Smith and Dr. Jones, right? But nobody refers to them as such.
They
And
have a right to use it, and hopefully as teachers they will teach other people, and they'll teach them in their professional activities and by being involved with teaching.
right.
Can I switch back to Duncan's book a little bit now, because we're going to be here all day, and I kind of want to get a little example here. Like I've got Abraham here. Now look at, he's kind of all depressed and down in the dumps. He is allegedly going to law school in Columbus, Ohio, but in truth, he's going to like University of Phoenix online. Modern schools are all shut down. Everybody's going to school by Zoom. I found out the other day that his law school doesn't even have a football team. Now, the UB Law School football team got its butt kicked the other day, but at least we have one. Notre Dame Law School, their team got beat. Clemson Law School, theirs beat Notre Dame the other day. So he's down in the dumps. What could your resiliency training and whatever do? I mean, the other thing, he's from Lackawanna. So just think, when you start out with a handicap like that, your law school doesn't have a football team. What can you do to help him up and make him better able to deal with the problems of his everyday life?
Yeah. So first thing we do is we gotta change your focus, right? So before we even get into like, let's do some hardcore training or let's do some thinking exercises, we have to change your perspective. A lot of times our frustration or anxiety is tied to our perspective on how we see the world, right? So there's an exercise we do called Hunt the Good Stuff. And it's a way to build gratitude and change your focus, because we've got like a negativity bias in our society, where we focus on the negative more than the positive. So they say, some researchers say it takes 6 positive experiences. Some say it takes 11 to overcome 1 negative experience. So we do this exercise called Hunt the Good Stuff, where we ask people, and I do this at every training, where every person has to name 3 good things that have happened to them in the last 24 hours. The idea is that you would do it every day, right? So I would ask him, I'd say, Abraham, what are 3 good things that have happened in the last 24 hours? Or, for this made up scenario, let's say over the pandemic, what are 3 really good things that have happened, or 3 good opportunities?
All right, let's try it. Let's do an experiment. Abraham, 3 good things.
Well, one, Pete said if I park across the street again, he's not coming out with me. So that's one good thing. I don't have to take Pete out with me.
I'm probably going to kill you if you make me walk through that field of slushy snow again. Park in the driveway.
So that's one good. No. So, well, I got another semester down in the books. So one step closer. Another good thing that's happened to me is this COVID time. Kind of hard to think about
That's okay. That's why it's called hunt the good stuff, not name the good stuff, because sometimes you got to hunt for it. But go ahead.
What are you learning? What are you learning that's good?
We learned. I took common law this semester. We learned more about our rights, and it's good to know your rights because a lot of people don't, and then they find themselves in a situation where they have to dig themselves out of had they just exercised their rights. So that's another good thing I learned. And the third is.
Did you learn anything outside of law school?
I've learned. We're working on the Buffalo speed cams. So, getting that fixed is another good thing that has happened, and the ability to work on something like that.
How's that going?
Did
anybody you know get a ticket?
Yeah, I think I might have gotten a ticket, to be honest, too, the other day.
All right, who in your family got a ticket?
My mom got a ticket.
Okay, and what did she do? Did she ask for a hearing so that we could use all the things that we've been digging up in the hearing so you could represent your mom? What happened? What'd she do?
Well, she hasn't done it yet. Pay the bill. She's going to pay.
Nah, you don't do that. Now, don't
Yes,
ask Duncan if he got any speeding tickets either or what he did. He got 3 and he paid them. And one of the reasons why is for the amount of money you can't afford a lawyer and it's too much of a pain in the neck. And by the way, they're having in-person hearings on these things.
All right, hold up,
during
Peter.
COVID.
You're messing up my flow here. The resilient stuff.
All right, I'm sorry.
All right.
Sorry.
So now that Abraham's named,
I'll be quiet.
No, it's okay. Abraham's named 3 good things, right? Then we would unpack those 3 things, right? So you said the first thing is you got a semester down.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, how does that, why is that a good thing?
Well, I'm one step closer to the career that I want to be in. And it's really a dream to become a lawyer. So now that I'm one step closer, I'm a little excited.
Okay. You said you learned some more of your rights in common law.
Yes.
So talk to me about that. What stood out? Why did that resonate with you?
Well, you see it all the time. I got an email recently from the Innocence Project, right? And the Innocence Project, they work on getting people out of prison who are wrongly incarcerated. And I was reading about a case where had the person just shut their mouth and known that they have the right to remain silent instead of talking to the police, because what they said put them at the scene of the crime, but they weren't the perpetrator. So had they known to just shut their mouth, they probably wouldn't have done 10 or 15 years in prison. So just knowing that and being able to be like, well, I'm not a lawyer, I can't give people legal advice, but knowing that for myself, like, hey, you really do have the right to remain silent. The police are telling you that because they have to, and if they could not tell you it, they would, Just knowing that helps. So, yeah, that's one thing.
So just as you were talking about that, you kind of lit up. Right, like that seemed to give you some real power, right? As you were talking about knowing your rights and being able to communicate that to other people, even though you can't give legal advice yet, right? So now that we've done that, and then we would go through the last one. And so, what was the last one again? The last good thing, the speed cameras. You're working on the speed cameras,
Yeah.
And so we would go through why does that make you feel good? So we don't have to do that, just for time's sake, right? So. Now that we've done that, Peter, now that we have identified that, we've changed the energy, right? So in the beginning, we was like, oh, he's depressed, he's, COVID, isolation.
He's from Lackawanna.
All of that good stuff. But now that we start talking about the good things, we start creating this positive energy. And once we can create the positive energy, then we can go into the ways to think about stuff. So for me, the main thing I'm telling people right now, COVID is the thing that is depressing to most people, right? They can't see their friends. They can't go party. They're not around other people. Everything is distance. Everything is isolation. And I tell them, okay, Abraham, so everything is distance, but now what's the opportunity in that? Is you can't go to no community meetings, right? You're not in school all day. So now you got extra time. So it seems that you found something to do with that extra time here at this podcast studio, right? What other things can you do? Because the vaccine ain't going to be fixed. It's not going to fix everything till maybe, Katrinna, the summer? If we're lucky, did we get it out?
Maybe next year.
Right.
So to be honest with you, right? We're going to have to get this. The more of the community that actually gets vaccinated, that's going to make a difference. We have 25% that will accept and take the vaccination, we're in trouble. We're even in trouble if we have 50%. So it's contingent on how many people are willing to actually be, vaccinated.
Yeah, so thank you, Katrinna. So we looking at the next 5 to 7 months still in isolation, still in COVID, still virtual everything. So it's not going to change. Okay, so the question isn't how do we get back to the old world, Abraham? The question is, in this reality right now, the way the world is in this moment, because this is the only moment that's real, how do you find peace, love, and joy? Right? What brings you joy? What opportunities does it afford you to have extra time in your space?
Well, having extra time affords me the opportunity to go out and help people and drive a change, like fixing the speed cam issue, learning more about the law. Because what do lawyers do for the most part, besides charge you an insanely amount of money? They help you for the most part. They help you get ballot access. They help you when you get accused of something that you didn't do and you have the state or federal government after you. They help you with those things. So just stuff like that.
Got you. So that's great. So you're already using this extra time to help people, to build the type of energy that you want around using your knowledge to make a difference, right? So that's great. So we want to continue to lean into that. So as we go through COVID and you're feeling those Wednesday nights where you can't go out and you're stuck at home and you just, like trapped texting people and stuff like that, you use that time to do this thing that just brought you joy. Just your eyes lit up just talking about it, right? So figure out more ways to do that. So that's like a short, abridged, end scene, right? That's an abridged version of kind of how we would start the process to get people to change their perspective. Then later we will go a deep dive into talking about thinking traps, talking about, activating events, thoughts, and consequences, because a lot of times we just react. That's the main problem with most people. They're like zombies. All they do is react to external circumstances, right? So this happens in the world, I react to it. This happens in the world, I react to it. Somebody says something to me, here's my reaction. They cut me off in traffic, I give them the finger. We're just constantly reacting like robots, okay? So the power that you have is that you don't have to live like that. You can create your own thoughts. Something can happen, they can cut you off in traffic, and you can think, you know what? They didn't hit me. I'm all right. And not have the reaction of giving them the finger and honking your horn and getting all mad and just be feeling good. Like, oh, I'm glad they didn't hit me, right? We have that ability all the time to control how we think about things, but very few people actually use it. Very few people create from the inside and say, here's my dream. Here's my passion. I'm going to force it. I'm going to will it into existence. Most people are just kind of reacting to, oh, at work they said this, so I have to do that now, instead of going to seek an opportunity or create an opportunity. And so we would dive into all of that. But first, we got to create the energy, Peter, as a really long answer to your question.
Well,
so be proactive, not reactive, is your motto.
Yes, being proactive, more like manifest the world that you want to see. Like a lot of people think that, I used to tell this to people, I said, the world isn't, what you do or what happens is how you react to it. You know how people used to say that, like, oh, you react to the world, I used to actually say that when I didn't know better, but I was wrong. The world is what you create. It's not how you react to what's happening. You are actually creating as you're living. I tell people, it's like, if you look in a mirror and you like, man, I need to lose 20 pounds. You don't get mad at the mirror. You don't start cursing at the mirror, right? You don't break the mirror because you just go, okay, I need to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to get in the gym. I'm going to start doing meal prep. Whatever you need to do to change it. Your life is the mirror to who you are on the inside. So if you look at your life and you don't like something, you don't get on social media complaining about your life. You change as a person. You do the internal work. You want people to be kinder to you, become a kinder person. You want more opportunities, read more and learn and prepare yourself more. And as you learn and grow, opportunities that you didn't know existed will be created and will be manifested. We're creating our existence if we choose to, or we can be like robots and zombies and we just react to stuff so yes, to your question of being proactive, but more so in the lane of create the world that you want to see by creating it inside, by becoming the person that you want to be, and the opportunities will follow.
Awesome.
Katrinna, you're in New York City. Why? Are you going to the shows, having a good time, or what's going on?
Well, I am in New York City, and I actually took a contract to help out the NYC healthcare system. I'll be working out of their Harlem hospital, of course, in relation to COVID-19. I have been a registered nurse for many years. I'm one of the first nurses in the country to ever care for COVID-19 patients. And what this tragedy has availed me to be able to do is to validate those disparities that I have advocated against within my community, and the inequities that I have advocated within my community. COVID has validated that and has brought the same research, the same discussions, the same issues that I have been trying to get the attention, specifically of elected officials, our government body, as to why our communities are in the situations that they're in now, why our families are in the situations that they're in now, from our education system to our healthcare system, to our global environment, to our actual physical environment. All of those things play in to this pandemic right now. So with that being said, this work has allowed, that bell that has been, sounded by myself and many people in, the healthcare industry, or really anybody that cares. It has, been able to actually do that. Now, will anything come of it where we do appeal to our government and our elected officials to support policies that are more equitable to the people? That is yet to be seen. I don't know. We'll see.
I just want to break in here and let you know that the Justice Democrats asked me to nominate someone for Congress yesterday, and I nominated you. It's because of your community activism, your lifelong dedication to making sure that people, in your community are actually getting a fair shake. The fact that you're an all-star COVID frontline worker. I mean, we see the signs. Thank you, frontline workers. You're looking at a frontline worker. Whether that they'll be contacting you. I think I'm going to send this video to them too.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know if that's a reality or not. But hey, they asked me. They said, "You got anybody that should run?" I said, "Here it is." And I wasn't thinking of Duncan at the time because I know he's too busy with all that rah-rah stuff.
Yeah, I'm done with the politics. That Katrinna would be great for that.
I don't even know what to say. I'm humbled.
Why would you think I wouldn't nominate you? Come on.
I'm almost never at a loss for words. I'm completely humbled, and I don't know what to say, but it means a lot to me, Peter, and thank you. This journey wouldn't have got as far as what it has if it wasn't for you. If you wouldn't have been that force there to teach me the ropes, to teach me what to do.
So you're blaming it all on me. You're blaming it on me. Is that it? Stop blaming me.
Peter's going to teach you that board of election and this election process and how to get involved better than anybody ever can. And I'm humbled and I'm grateful and thank you.
All right. Abraham, you're going to handle a wrap-up here.
Am I?
Yeah. Tell us what we just talked about or what we ought to be thinking about. Or wish us a happy Hanukkah. Do you think we should end the war on Hanukkah, by the way, like Al Franken does?
And on Christmas, you just got to stop it,
Ramadan around this time, it isn't really, is it? I don't know. Is there a Muslim holiday that corresponds?
It's called Eid.
Okay. Tell us about Eid a little bit, real quick.
Well, there's two. There's one for, I'm not like an expert in this, but after Ramadan, you fast for 30 days from sunrise, sunset. Afterwards, there's a celebration, and then there's another celebration for, I believe, I'm not sure. I think Abraham not slaughtering his child instead slaughtering a lamb or whatever. So there's a celebration where you just slaughter a lamb and then you give it to like the needy or something.
That's actually every Abrahamic religion celebrates that, interestingly enough.
Really? So you're Muslim?
I guess.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, if you look at it, the Jews were first, and the Christians, and then the Muslims, and actually the Mormons, I think, can be viewed as the fourth stage. We have a common background.
Well, you say first, there were a bunch of religions in Africa that predate all of those religions.
Absolutely right.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely correct. And if you study this, actually, what is Michener's book? I think it's The Source. It's actually a pretty good summary of all that, and an entertaining book, too. On that happy note, Peter, we're going to call it quits here. This was entertaining, and remember, whether you like it or not, this is going to be online forever. Thank you for tuning in, and everyone have a season's greetings, and whatever your holiday is, have a good one.
Great.
By the way, don't forget Duncan Kirkwood's book,
Rerouting.
Rerouting, available on Amazon. Check it out.